Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa van Dijk, and in today's video I want to talk about flaky skin on your face and what you can actually do about it. It's a question I still get in my comments, and I think before you do anything, it's important to understand where it's coming from so you can get to the root cause of it and maybe solve the issue with very little effort for good. So flaky skin almost always happens when you're in a dry or cold environment, or with quick temperature shifts and your skin just loses too much moisture. Or it tries to balance it really quickly and it just can't keep up with the shifts. Or it can also just be a part of your skin's normal renewal process, which is then more visible because of the factors I've just mentioned. And if the flakiness comes with redness, swelling, burning or itching, it's more likely a sign of irritation or a skin condition rather than simple dryness, and then I recommend visiting a local doctor if it's severe. But if it's only flakes with no other symptoms, it's usually just your skin reacting to changes in its environment. It can happen in winter when indoor heating dries out the air, but I've also noticed it just as much in summer when you get a heat wave and then the weather suddenly shifts. So it's really more about those dramatic changes than about one specific season. And your skin is just trying to keep up, and it essentially cannot balance it fast enough. And that is really the issue here. And I used to get this a lot back in my home country in Luxembourg or when staying in Vienna, but not so much here in Thailand anymore because the climate is much more balanced. And I noticed it even more when I started experimenting to figure out the root cause of my acne. That was the first time I really started watching how my skin behaved on its own, because I had stopped using any skincare products completely. And once you stop putting products on all the time, you realize how much your skin is just reacting to the environment you're in. I mean, we are kind of trained, or honestly, if you really think about it, it's even a bit like we have been brainwashed from early on, to believe we need to constantly use products, and you never really get to see what happens when you stop, because the whole system is based on fear-mongering. Don't do this or you will get that, and here's my product, I have the solution right here. But when you actually have the courage to stop, you can suddenly see how different skin reacts depending on where you are. And then it slowly starts to make a lot more sense. It's like it has been there forever, but because we're constantly manipulating it, it creates an opportunity for exploiting it. And when you actually do it, you really notice that your skin has its own rhythm, and it just needs some stable surroundings more than it needs constant products. And that can be really eye-opening. Anyway, the point I want to make here is that it really comes down to indoor and outdoor air and temperature. If you're inside all the time and the air is super dry because the heater is always on, or the air conditioning is running on automatic non-stop, the humidity drops. And then your skin dries out, gets out of balance really quickly and starts flaking. Especially if you then go back outside or change your surroundings. It's exposed constantly. And it's basically just your skin trying to adapt to constant changes. Like how animals shed when the seasons change. But instead of actually being with the seasons, you simulate them by going into different artificially manipulated environments. It's a simple natural reaction that leaves you with these flakes that do not look good, but there's literally nothing wrong with it. But since it doesn't look good, you want a solution. And that's why even if you use the best moisturizer, if the air is dry or constantly shifting, your skin doesn't really know any better. The dry air just keeps pulling water out of your skin. So even though you're putting moisture on the surface, it can't stay because the environment keeps taking it away. That's why the real solution is fixing the air first, and that makes everything a lot more easier. Now, if you're spending a lot of time at home, the easiest thing is to place a bowl of water near your heater or drying laundry indoors from time to time to add moisture to the air. So you don't always need anything fancy. I mean, sure, you can also buy a humidifier, which makes things even easier and much more convenient, but it's not needed. The idea here is just to create a nice stable environment around you where your skin is not on a roller coaster. And yes, you can use a moisturizer to keep your skin a bit more protected and hydrated. So you're kind of simulating a balanced environment where it doesn't shed as often. But if the air stays dry, it can feel like a never-ending cycle because you didn't solve the actual issue. And unless you really moisturize around the clock, it won't fix the problem because you're still exposed to these shifts in between, which is enough for your skin to notice. It's like with breakouts. When you constantly eat the food causing the breakouts, you can use any treatment and it will never work because the problem starts inside. You're just duct taping it until you stop back with the product. Sure, it's a temporary solution that can work, but still it's not the solution. And if you just want your skin to look smoother in the meantime, then there's also the way of using a gentle glycolic acid product to quickly get rid of these dead skin cells, so you do not coat the moisturizer over them. So essentially you remove them with the glycolic acid and then you use your moisturizer to simulate a balanced environment. But remember, only to do that if your flakiness really comes from dryness and not irritation. Another great way, which is very easy to do and probably the most effective, which is what I used to do during my experiment, was basically just using a soft microfiber cloth, or even just after showering, gently scrubbing a bit with a towel, and that removed the dead skin cells, so it looks good. And I think that's what you want when you go out, because having the flakes in front of the TV is not an issue at all. Just remember, when you use a towel to remove them, to throw that towel right away into the laundry, so you do not use that one again and go over other body parts, transferring the flakes back to it. But the main thing I want you to take away from this is that you need to adjust your surroundings to tackle it effectively. It's fine to use products if you want to help the flakes, like the flaky skin, temporarily, but don't go overboard with it. Otherwise, you might end up with more problems than you actually started with, and then you're stuck in that skincare hamster wheel, spending way more money than you actually wanted to. Sometimes it's just better to embrace the natural cycles, listen to your skin, and do not as much, or sometimes it's best to even do nothing at all and just wait. So be gentle with your skin, notice how it reacts to your environment, and don't stress too much about it. Now I want to wrap it up right here. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.